What is going on, Tuffy Tribe fans? It is your boy Nick coming at you live. Today we got a lot to discuss. Me and my co-host Zaire are going to discuss the latest news and scores from around the sports world. Man, since we were last here on Monday, a lot has changed and a lot has gone down in the world of sports. But today, as we have these written down, me and Zaire will be discussing them today, and we are very excited for this next tribe incoming, Zaire. And there's the man himself.
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How about you, boy?
Just been, making it, watching some, great games.
Yeah, some great games. I've actually kind of gotten used to no spectators in the stands.
Yeah, kind of.
It's definitely been different, but I'm also starting to get used to it. We're not even a month into having sports back, so
Yeah,
I will say that it's a unique feature. Would I want to see it for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. I want to see fans in the stands one day because we're fans and we want to get back in those stands one day too.
I agree.
But for the time being, I guess it's okay. Speaking of fans, there has actually been some big news out of college football. The first FBS team has canceled their football season. That team or that school is the University of Connecticut. Though they're not too big of a football school, matter of fact, they're pretty much a losing team. It still kind of sends out a message to the fans to, not really panic, but to kind of, keep in mind the first FBS team has called its season off.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of just, like you were saying, it's UConn, but like at the same time, like they're still a FBS school.
Yeah.
So it just like sends that message that hey, we're expecting football to happen. It's not 100% guaranteed that it will happen. So I think with them canceling their season, um, a lot more of these teams are going to take more or take a lot more precaution to make sure that they still have a.
Yeah. The thing with UConn, though, not only does it doesn't just affect them, it affects their whole entire conference. They're in the American Athletic Conference, if I stand correct, like with the division of conference of UCF. It affects them because now they're going to have to alter their schedule making, and that plays a big factor. If you have to change one team's schedule with UConn in it, then you have to change all the others.
Yeah.
That's what's really, that's what's the big message is. It doesn't just affect the school; it affects the entire conference. So, say if that happens over like in the Pac-12, like say someone like I don't know, Oregon State canceled their season. Well, now you gotta re-alter the schedule unless you want to give the teams who did play Oregon State a bye week. Unless you want to do that, but if you're wanting to fill every game, you're gonna have to alter the schedule, and that's probably trouble, like or a pain in the butt. At least I could say that.
That's tougher than it actually sounds.
Yeah.
Changing the schedule after the schedule has already been put out. That's even tougher than making the schedule the first time.
Yeah. That's tough. But we also had our first. Well, I guess you could say, first school announced that there will be no fans in their stadium this year. That came from Maryland. Though Maryland hasn't put up a high number of attendance like in the Southeastern Conference. They have announced that there will be no fans in their stadium this year.
You said the SEC?
No, I said like it's not like all those SEC schools that get.
Oh, I was like, hold on.
No, what I was trying to say was like they don't get attendance as high as like any of the South SEC schools except Vanderbilt.
I was about to say that's on me. My fault.
Oh no, you're good. Heck, while you're saying that, I dropped my pen. It's like Nelson Aguilar. Sorry, shots taken. I had to say that because what's a good podcast without a good roast? I hear Paul Feinbaum doing it all the time on his radio network. So,
right.
Or Rick and Bub on their radio and podcast. Man, they roast everybody. So, what's a good podcast without a good roast?
I feel it.
This may sound like a crazy question, but at the same time, it's something to think about. Alex Smith suffered that devastating injury a year and a half ago in 2018. That was very similar to Joe Theismann. Unlike Joe Theismann, though, it seems like Alex Smith is destined to make a return to football. Joe Theismann, when he suffered that leg injury in 1985, that was the end of his career. Now Alex Smith is working as hard as he can and fighting for his career to get back into the game. We don't see this too much in football. I know injuries play a big factor, but how often do you see someone like Alex Smith who has a devastating injury that comes back willingly? Like they want to get there as soon as possible. A lot of players want to drag it out a little bit, mainly for the reason that they don't want to rush it back, though. But what does this say about Alex Smith's character and his love for football?
It speaks volumes, honestly, because I put the football career aside. He was like the doctors was talking about him nearing death.
Nearing death, he was on death's doorstep. That's how bad his injury was.
Yes, and to be willing to come back after all of that, to come back and fight for a spot in the NFL. That just shows how dedicated he is to the game, because honestly, I haven't seen an injury that bad probably since Ryan Shazier. And we all know that he has yet to recover 100% from that. And to see and to see Alex Smith be cleared to play again, it's just a great story. It really is a great story.
What he's doing is pretty much what a hockey player could do. I'm going to tell you all this. Last year in 2019, when the Bruins ran the Stanley Cup, Zdeno Chara got hit in the face with the puck. I'm going to tell you this right now. I have touched the hockey puck before. Those things are no pillow. They're as hard as a rock. Let me tell you, if for all y'all who don't know how hard a puck is, it's as hard as a rock. That one Zaire's got technical difficulties again, so we'll wait for his video to resume.
You see?
You good? Yeah, you went on. You were lagging.
My fault.
Okay, you're good now. So Zdeno Chara took a puck to the face that broke his jaw, and he had his mouth wired shut. Excuse me. And he had to play. He was pretty much told he was encouraged to miss the rest of the series against the Blues, but he didn't. He chose to play, and boy, he was a warrior for that, because I'm sure he took some hits to the head, because they have shoulder pads just like football players do. But that said a lot about Zdeno Chara's character and his love for the game of hockey. You can kind of put that in the same sense for Alex Smith. Alex Smith doesn't have to come back from football for the same reason that Zdeno Chara did have to come back for that series against the Blues. Also against the Blues, it was a Stanley Cup. He didn't want to have to let his team go shorthanded. Of course, they lost that series. It was a hard-fought series by the Bruins, and they almost had it. The same thing goes for Alex Smith. Now he's got a role to play in the Washington football's team future. What? Just say Washington. A lot of people will call them Redskins, but that's another time. But he's got a lot to. He's kind of under pressure. Not really too much pressure to kind of lead the football team in the right direction, because Ron Rivera has to kind of get off to the right start, or he's going to be pitchfork and torched all throughout the city streets of Washington, because or if you want to say Landover, Maryland, where they play. So good for I hope Alex Smith comes back. He's had a lot of he's been through a lot over the past year and a half, from going through that injury, nearly coming to death, and now falling on into death, and now he's been cleared to return, and hope he comes back. Who knows, maybe this year, and that'll be a moment that we all hope to see on TV. Yeah,
I agree. That's something that just to see him suit up again, it'll just be a moment to cheer for. I'm cheering for him to make a successful comeback, because people just don't come back after those type of injuries and are willing to play the game ever again.
Yeah.
So to see him fighting and trying to get back into the league, I'm cheering for him all the way through.
Yeah. If he does it, honestly, I kind of hope he does it with another team. I'm sure he wants to play for Washington, but how could you want to go back to a team that almost literally killed you? That injury was so bad, as we mentioned before, it almost killed him. So
yeah.
I don't know how he would want to go back and play for that same team, who hasn't changed. A year and a half seems like a long time, but for the Redskins, that was just yesterday. That was
And
literally just yesterday.
and on top of that, their O-line got worse because they lost their star tackle. I
Yeah.
forgot. I think it was
Trent Williams.
yeah.
He's gone to the 49ers, and now this
Yeah.
this O-line is not. I mean, under Trent Williams, it wasn't no brick wall. It was still pretty much as soft as paper mache.
Yeah.
Well, now it's paper mache underwater. So I don't know. The Redskins O-line has done this multiple times before. Just look at the career of Robert Griffin III. I think it was a brutal hit that took his career because of the knee injury, not so much of the offensive line. But once again, he was hurt by the Redskins, and his career took a turn, and he became what was a promising career to just a bust. But that career bust belongs in the hands of the Washington football team. I hate saying that. So hopefully the Redskins. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was about to say, that just sends a message for Dwayne Haskins to get out of there while he still can.
Yeah, get out of there while you can, because he's going to take a beating this year. If he's the starting quarterback, whoever's the starting quarterback, it's going to take a beating. That Redskins O-line got worse, and it was already as bad as it could be. I mean, 2018, I don't see a difference between 2018's Washington's O-line and today's Washington football team's O-line. It's just as bad. And that's kind of something that Dwayne Haskins needs to not panic, but kind of hold a prayer, send a prayer.
Yeah. Take it into concern.
Take it into concern. Work with the O-line, though. The main thing is how to get a better O-line, not just comes from coaching, but being a leader. Get your guys right. Get them on the same page as you. The last thing you want to do is be completely off page, and then you're stuck in that hospital room like Alex Smith, praying for your life, fighting for your life, man. So no quarterback should ever go through that, man.
I agree.
But the Braves have taken a horrible hit this year. Their starting pitcher and ace, Mike Soroka, tore his Achilles in Monday's game against the New York Mets. And unfortunately, his season is done, and who knows how long it could be until he returns. Typically, a torn Achilles is a 10 to 12-month recovery. If it was a full 12-month recovery for Soroka, he would be coming back this time next year in August, when the Braves are about 110, 120 games into the season. So that's a major blow to the Braves. And top it all, Ozzie Albies and Matt Adams just landed on the injured list. So the banged-up Braves are the team that contracted not coronavirus, but the injury plague virus.
Yeah. The Soroka injury will hurt them a lot. I agree, because you're losing your best pitcher. But on top of that, they still got depth in their pitching rotation. They're going to lose Soroka. That's going to hurt. But
Boltonevich is gone. He was put on waivers, and what's his face? There was one other. Okay, keep going while I think.
I was about to say, but I mean, I do think that
Hamels. Call Hamels.
I do think that they will recover in due time. They're still going to win some games, but I don't know if they can make that playoff push without Soroka. But I do think that they'll at least make they will make playoffs, but whether they'll go deep into the playoffs, that's what I'm concerned about with Soroka now gone.
Yeah, and I'm the exact same way. I mean, I'm a diehard Braves fan. No, I'm not a Reds fan. But I was thinking the exact same thing. Now the Braves are going to have to really rely on the offense a lot. The bullpen for the Braves has been tremendous. I can't believe I'm saying that, because the Braves, ever since Craig Kimbrell was traded, they have had bad bullpen curse. And now it's kind of the opposite. They have starting rotation curse. 3 pitchers from the Braves that were here, well, not really here because one of them had been missing already, but 3 pitchers already for the Braves are gone. You got Mike Soroka, torn Achilles, Mike Boltonevich, who was sent down designated for assignment, and then Cole Hamels, who hasn't started a game, but he is on the injured list, and he is not expected to be back at least until late next month. So the Braves are taking a big hit on their starting rotation, and this doesn't really help their hopes to get a World Series title. We're all hungry for it. But what is promising for the Braves is, we may not get Soroka back until probably next year, sometime in July, maybe June, depends how his recovery goes. But we still got the trade deadline. Here's the good thing for the Braves. I'm thankful that we have this now and it's not gone. They have bundles of cap space. Last time I checked, they had over $80 million in cap space. They could have used it on signing someone like Nolan Arenado or Chris Bryant. But thankfully, our genius management chose to kind of hold off and just start Riley and Camargo. So this sets up the Braves for signing a big pitcher, an ace pitcher, an experienced pitcher, maybe at the trade deadline, but also in the offseason. This is good for the Braves. I mean, you're going to probably have to sacrifice Soroka for a year, but it could help out in the end because there's going to be someone to replace Mike Foltynewicz, and Cole Hamels is nearing the end of his career. I say he's got 1 or 2 more years left. I don't know if he's past his prime. I'll let that do the talking when he comes back and pitches for Atlanta late next month.
We got a question about Christian. He says, "Who wins the NL East?" I'll let you answer that first.
Call me biased, but I still think the Braves are going to win it. Now, will they win the World Series? Probably not. But you see the Nationals taking a hit from regression. The Mets, don't even get me started on them. The Phillies could, but they've had too many games postponed right now. That is still too early to determine what the Phillies are going to do. And the Marlins, yes, they're 4-1 right now, but the Marlins have always been that kind of team where they've lacked talent. They've had talent. They start out so strong, and then they kind of dip. They're kind of like the Buffalo Bills of Major League Baseball. They've had, I wouldn't say like stacked roster, but they've had talent, and they've started out strong at first, and then once the mid to late season comes, they fall off their grid, and boom, they're sitting in last place. That's just like the Bills. But I still stand by the Braves winning the NL East, mainly for that offense. That offense is deadly. I know they just lost Albies and Adams for a little bit. They're still comprised of Ronald Acuna, Austin Riley, Freddie Freeman, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall, Yohan Camargo. I mean, there's still talent on that roster. Now it just comes down to can they, carry the pitching because the starting rotations hurt and the bullpen. Well, you can't play the bullpen every single game. That would be very bad, but it'd be gut-wrenching too, as well. So that's my prediction. What about you?
I agree on the Braves. I think that it's going to come down to the Braves and Nationals again. But I think the only thing that's keeping the Nationals away from winning the division is whether Juan Soto will be the same when he comes back from the COVID thing. If he does,
You said the COVID.
COVID. If he doesn't, if he can't come back and produce the way that he was producing last year, then I just don't see no way that the Nationals can beat the Braves for the division title. So, with that being said, I agree with you. I gotta go with the Braves.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty sloppy. Now that the Braves have lost Soroka, Foltynewicz is gone, and Hamels will be missing most of the season. I could probably see them finishing with 22, 23 losses. It's not going to be a pretty record. Unfortunately, I have to tell that to myself too. Every loss is frustrating, but it's just, it's been that kind of year. It's just bad luck for not just the Braves, not just for, like teams like the Phillies and Cardinals who have had positive corona. It's just been a bad year and just bad luck for everybody. And it doesn't seem like bad luck. It seems to be hitting the Marlins and Orioles who, believe it or not, if the playoffs were to start today, and this could be the crazy stat of the day because this is crazy. If the playoffs were to start today for Major League Baseball, the Marlins and the Orioles would be in it. Now let that just sink in. Is that just how weird 2020 has been that even someone like the Marlins and Orioles, who are projected to be last in their respective conferences, would be in the playoffs if it started today? I mean, I'm not saying they'll be in the playoffs come October, but right now, dude, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, I wasn't even really expecting them to touch playoff success. So, I mean, that's crazy. Whether they can keep it going or not, I doubt it. But it's nice to see that they're competing.
Yeah, there's so far been a bunch of surprises. Now here's a good question for us. Give me your most surprising team in 2020 in Major League Baseball, and your most disappointing team so far in 2020.
Surprising team. Uh, I don't have a surprising team yet, but I will say disappointing team, and I'm biased. I'm gonna go the right for disappointment. It's been since 2011 since we had any type of since we well no it's I always want to forget that Toronto Blue Jays game. So
I'm sorry, I just had to do
for
that.
me, for me, I I'm gonna go the Rangers for my disappointment, and for my surprise team, not really a surprise, but the Dodgers. The Dodgers are playing real. The Dodgers are playing really good. I like the way that they've brought Mookie Betts in, and they're still like having that offensive production that we've seen them have for years to come. So, like I said, that's not really a surprise because we've been seeing them do this. Uh, I want to see if they can, carry this to a World Series championship. But um, that's my two teams. What about you?
My surprising team so far, I'm not sure if this will last, but surprisingly, the Rockies are actually doing just fine. I saw yesterday, and I didn't even know that they had won 8 of their first 10 games. And they're in a division that has the Dodgers in it, who are the prime favorites to win the NL East and even the National League as well. But the Rockies were, I mean, I know the Cubs are 9-2, and you might be asking, why not the Cubs? They're 9-2. Nobody projected them to be leading the NL Central. Well, the problem is with the NL Central compared to the NL West so far is I'm sure more people had the Cubs winning more than the Rockies actually doing something good for once, like having an 8-2 start. That's a really good start if you ask me, especially in a 60-game season. And I also think with the Cubs as well. I mean, with the NL Central, it's a toss-up. This division was projected to come down to 4 teams. It could have been the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Brewers, or the Reds. And right now, the Cubs are leading it pretty well. The Brewers, the Reds, and the Cardinals, despite the Cardinals having Corona, they've kind of been a little bit of disappointment so far. But the thing is, for the NL Central compared to the NL West, it's just a toss-up. Now, for the NL West, it's just one team dominating. That's the Dodgers. Nobody expected the Rockies to even have 1 point. At one point, have a division lead over the Dodgers. Now, I'm not saying that's going to last. I don't think it will either. I still think the Dodgers will run away with that division. But with the Rockies going 8-2 and even better than the Padres, who started out giving the Dodgers trouble, that's really insane for their thing. Now, for my disappointing team, call me biased, but I'm going to go Reds. Now they were the favorites to take the NL Central. That's why I had one of the Central as well. They're filled with talent and they had pitching, but they've just been a disappointment this year so far with their pitching. The hitting hasn't been great. The hitting can be good one night, and it could just be downright awful the next night. And they've been inconsistent. They haven't gone up on the right leg. The Reds are my unfortunate disappointing team. I was hoping they would do good. But right now, it's just inconsistency seems to be hitting them hard. And I think the last time I checked, they were like 3rd or 4th in the NL Central. Or maybe I think they were actually 3rd because 4th was the Cardinals because they didn't play many games. And the Pirates, they've been downright awful. Hopefully the Reds will change, though. Just because we're through 13, 14 games and, you've lost 7, that don't mean anything. And the Nationals started 19-31 last year and won the World Series. They can still overcome it. I hope they do. But those are my two picks for the most surprising and most disappointing team. So the XFL will be making its return, and they will go to return to a bankrupt court on Friday to actually finalize everything. But one news report that came out was Birmingham, Alabama. The city was interested in posting a bid for an XFL team. I'm all into this, not because I live an hour away from Birmingham, but they deserve it. Birmingham is not far. I think it's about 45 minutes out of Tuscaloosa, where the University of Alabama is, and there's some Alabama freaks up there, up in in the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa area. And if you tracked all those Alabama, alumni, the ones who didn't make the cut for the NFL, bring them to Birmingham like they did for the Iron of the Alliance of American Football, you could definitely get some fans in the stands there. Well, if it's not in the middle of a pandemic, that's all I could say. But if there is an XFL team that moves to Birmingham, I suggested this, and I told this on the group chat. I said have a team relocate, like if it's the Dallas Renegades or the LA Wildcats or even the Tampa Bay Vipers. Those three teams were under radar to relocate if there was a 2021 season, which could be the case. And even if there is, the Dallas Renegades have announced they will not return if there is a 2021 season going forward. The Wildcats were projected to move, and so were the Vipers. What do you think? I mean, I know you're a Greenville, South Carolina resident, but does Birmingham have the hopes to actually keep a football team? I'm going to mention this right now. Birmingham has been the victim to two other football teams of failed football leagues. The 2001 version of the XFL, they had the Birmingham Thunderbolts. That league was gone within a year. And then in 2019, they had the Birmingham Iron of the Alliance of American Football. We all know that turned out 8 weeks into the season, and the league folded. So could this be another chance for Birmingham to once again prove they're a football city and they are still very hungry for professional football?
I think they can. Actually pull it off. Besides the points you made, having having to fail, so to say, fail Alabama players play for them. Let's not forget that I think UAB is in Birmingham as well. So
Yes.
they can possibly get some players from UAB and from Alabama, or if you want to say Auburn as well. So I do think that that Birmingham would be a good spot for a possible SFL team. Alabama is a football state.
Oh, without question. I even have evidence to back that up. Like literally, people, if down here, if someone comes up to you and asks Auburn, Alabama, and you say I don't like either one of them, you'll probably get cursed down. You'll probably say or no, seriously. Like if you had to pick, which one would you choose, Auburn or Alabama? Alabama, and then they're an Auburn fan. They go, they'll probably touch you out. So that's how big, for all you non-Alabama residents, that's how big football is, especially college down here. And actually, college is the only dominating football. Like if you ask the Alabama fan which NFL team you like, they'll say the one that Julio Jones is on, or the one that Derrick Henry's on. That's literally their version of how they like professional football. I've heard that a lot. Or Auburn fans. Who's your favorite NFL team? Oh, the one Cam Newton's on. There, that's Alabama football for you, or that's the state of Alabama football. Not making fun of Alabama, people. That's just how it is down here in Alabama. But I would love for Birmingham to have an XFL team. Plus, I could go see the Vipers over there. It's only an hour away, baby. And I also mentioned this as well. UAB is also opening up a new stadium. I think it's next year in 2021. They will be leaving Legion Field. And moving to a new stadium called Protective Stadium there in downtown Birmingham, right next to the Birmingham Jefferson something complex, the BJCC as we call it. Easier, I forgot what it's still called. But it would be a perfect idea to open up. I mean, you could probably get more fans there at the new stadium compared to Legion Field. I'm gonna tell you this right now, Legion Field is not really in a great location. It's a little bit. It's on the not the rural side, but it's kind of a little bit away from the city compared to Protective Stadium. It's like in downtown Birmingham. Yeah. So you would definitely attract a lot of fans just on the new stadium itself. I mean, that don't even include who is on the team. If you get plenty of Alabama and Auburn alumni on that roster, you could definitely attract some fans. So Birmingham would be a great city to have an XFL team. And matter of fact, I've even made some predictions of if there was relocations. I say move the Wildcats. The Los Angeles Wildcats to Birmingham, or San Diego if it's possible. Move the Renegades to San Antonio. Oh my goodness! If you are a AAF fan, you know for a fact how passionate those San Antonio Commanders fans were, and they deserve their football team that was once taken away from them for not their fault. They deserve a football team. You can't prove me wrong. And then keep the Vipers in Tampa Bay. Just keep them in Tampa Bay. I would actually like that because Tampa Bay is actually now they're actually starting to become a football city now that they got Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So that's my hopes for the XFL season. But it's not up to Vince McMahon. It's up to The Rock. We all hyped to see XFL come back. Hopefully in 2021. But if it takes till 2022, okay.
Yeah, really.
Oh, good old XFL, man. That was heartbreaking to see it go. But it just couldn't help, man. Pandemic took too much control. Well, we got the halfway mark of this podcast. It is time for our Tuffy Tribe Sports Update. Okay, starting in MLB, the struggling Mets are so far leading the Washington Nationals in the middle of the 8th inning. The score of 3-1 now. Another struggling team, the Boston Red Sox, are beating the Tampa Bay Rays 5-0. That game is in the top of the 6th. The Twins are hanging on to a 1-0 lead over the Pittsburgh Pirates. That game's in the top of the 6th. And the Blue Jays also grasping their 1-0 lead over the Atlanta Braves. That game is in the bottom of the 4th. The Reds and the Indians are deadlocked at 0 entering the 5th inning. And the Yankees and Phillies are deadlocked at 1 into the bottom of the 3rd inning. The Cubs, baseball's biggest surprise, is deadlocked with the Kansas City Royals 0-0. That game's in the bottom of the 2nd. And the Brewers and White Sox are getting things kicked off. Now they are tied up at 0 in the top of the 2nd. The Marlins are beating the Orioles 2-0. The 4-1 Marlins taking down the Orioles 2-0. That game's in the bottom of the 1st. That just started. Some games from earlier today. The Phillies took down the New York Yankees 11-7, ending their 5-game winning streak. The Marlins beat the Orioles in a very low-scoring game, 1-0. That they only had recorded 2 hits in. The Giants and the Rockies and the Astros and Diamondbacks have yet to play. Those games will be played actually here in a couple minutes. And those are the scores from around baseball. We're going to go to the NBA now, which has been very promising. Just saw an interesting score. The Thunder are upsetting the Lakers 65-52. That has 6 minutes remaining. And the third, the Raptors are already pulling away from the Magic, and it's only in the first quarter. That is a score of 21-8. The Jazz defeated the Grizzlies, who now have lost 4 in a row to start this bubble or this NBA restart. Jazz won by final score of 124-115. The Philadelphia 76ers took down the Washington Wizards by a score of 107-98. The Nuggets pulled away late to beat the San Antonio Spurs 132-126. And the Nets and Celtics will be tipping off here in about 30 minutes. Now let's get to some hockey. Where can I find some hockey scores? Here we go. Let's see. All right, we're going to get to some scores from earlier today. The Colorado Avalanche are defeating the Dallas Stars 3-0. That just hit the second intermission. The Penguins and the Canadiens are deadlocked at 1. That has 11:05 remaining in the first period. The Panthers avoided elimination today over the Islanders. They defeated the Islanders 3-2. That game now forces a game 4. A heartbreaking one to mention. The Coyotes took down the Nashville Predators by a score of 4-1. Coyotes scored 3 unanswered to take down the Predators, and now they are 1 game away from advancing to the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Tampa Bay Lightning took down the struggling Bruins by a score of 3-2. The President's Trophy winners can now be at best a 3 seed going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Carolina Hurricanes swept the New York Rangers last night by a score of 4-1. They are the first team to punch their ticket to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And the Oilers and Blackhawks will take the ice later tonight at 9:30 p.m. Central Time from Edmonton. And those are your Tuffy Tribe scores update. Any surprising scores right now? I got one that's surprising. I'm sure you can agree. The Thunder beating the Lakers.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. But honestly, after seeing what happened last night with the Suns and Clippers, I don't think nothing is going to top that. I mean, honestly, well, the Rockets Bucks game did catch me by surprise a little bit, but I think we can both agree that we both thought that the Clippers was going to dominate the Suns, and the exact opposite happened. Devin Booker did what Devin Booker usually does, and he hit a game winner on both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So that's crazy. That's I mean,
I still find it as overdone.
Oh, I was about to say,
So good.
I was speechless when it first happened. That's all I was about to say.
I mean, the fact that the Suns are in the NBA restart, which is pretty much a kind of like a playoff system, I kind of find that surprising because the Suns, I mean, I always grew up with them just being downright awful. Like they'd be the team that started I don't know 2-0, and they would finish like I don't know 63 and 19 19 and 63. They finished with 19 wins out of an 82 game season. That's how I've always known the Suns. But they've already impressed me up by making it to the NBA restart. I mean, Hawks couldn't make it, so that's kind of bad when the Suns can and we can't. But credit to the Suns for taking down the Clippers. I mean, the NBA is pretty kind of the playoff system kind of is a predictable system. It doesn't take a genius to know who's going to be in the playoffs. I remember last year I was thinking, man, it's probably going to be Bucks Warriors. Well, the Warriors still made it, but the Bucks almost did. They were just 2 wins shy of making that matchup or that predictable matchup come true. And we all think it's going to be Lakers Bucks this year. Well, who knows? There could be one surprising team that could sneak in, not just sneak into the 8th seed, but in the 6th or 7th seed area, could take down the favorites. We see that, we kind of see that more in hockey and in other sports than basketball. Not talking bad about basketball, just saying it's just kind of a predictable sport, except March Madness.
Yeah.
Bring it back, baby. Well, despite also to add on insult to injury for the Grizzlies, who are 0-4 in this NBA restart, Jaren Jackson tore his meniscus and he will be done for the rest of the season. So being 0-4 and losing Jaren Jackson, is it kind of close to just throwing in the towel for the Grizzlies?
Kinda, because now you're gonna have to rely on Ja Morant a lot more than what you was already relying on him to begin with Jaren Jackson going down. So now he's gonna have to step his game up, and the team around him is gonna have to also step their game up. Because Jaren Jackson was a great shooter, but he was also he was also a great defender on the defense end too. He could, he was a good perimeter. He kept the guards and the forwards and stuff outside the paint, and that's always good. And so when you lose that, it's kind of tough to make up. And I think that without him, it's just it's gonna go from bad to worse for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, and they were one of the favorites to take the 8th seed and play the Lakers in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Who, by the way, clinched their number 1 seed a couple nights ago against the Jazz. Well, now the Grizzlies are shorthanded and they are facing a 4th straight loss here today. And as we just said, I mean, Ja is now going to have to carry kind of a stone mountain now, if you would say. He's going to have to carry the weight of the Grizzlies for the rest of the way, however many games that are left in this NBA restart season for the playoffs. And taking away Jaren Jackson kind of takes away a duo. I wouldn't say it's like taking away LeBron and Anthony Davis, but it's something on a similar level. It's between two, young core players, and that's what this is for the Grizzlies. Now Jaren Jackson is taken away, and now the pressure and the load just got higher and heavier for Ja Morant. Luckily, the Grizzlies aren't being faced with being the number 1 or number 2 seed in this NBA playoffs. They will just at best probably be an 8th seed. There goes the voice crack. They will at best be an 8th seed if they were to make the playoffs going forward. But that doesn't mean the Grizzlies don't have a bright future. I would honestly call them maybe playoff contenders next year if they can stay healthy, and maybe, who knows, finals contenders for once again later in the future. Now, I can't be too old to remember the fact that I feel like just yesterday the Grizzlies were in the Western Conference Final. I think this was in 2013, back in the days of Mike Conley and Zach Randolph and Rudy Gay, when they made the Western Conference Final against the Spurs. And that was the same year the Indiana Pacers made the Eastern Conference Final. Well, the Grizzlies were, excited about it. I mean, why not? They made their first ever Western Conference title in franchise history, but they were swept in 4 games, which was hard to watch. But go ahead.
I was about to say, I remember the Grizzlies were, or the Grizzlies back then was more defense than offense. Like they wasn't going to score a lot of points, but best believe that you wasn't going to score a lot of points either. And that was just the game that they played, honestly. Grit and grind.
Mm-hmm. Could you have imagined how bad I mean, I'm sure the TV ratings would have been good, but could you still how bad the ratings and the city market would be if it was the Grizzlies and the Pacers in that NBA Finals? It turned out to be Heat Spurs, but you talk about two small market cities like Memphis and I think the Pacers play in Indianapolis somewhere. I forget, but two small market cities. Say what?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they're known as Indiana, but I mean, it feels like I think they play in Indianapolis. But you talk about two small market cities that I mean have pretty, I mean they were pretty good that year, but I think ESPN would have been the program of ESPN would have been punching the air because there's nothing better than seeing. I mean, if you're ESPN, nothing better than seeing a two big market cities, like for instance Los Angeles and Boston, go up against in the championship because you know you're gonna get some good revenue and some yeah, and that's what brings in more viewers as well. Now San Antonio could be idealized as a small market city, but not Miami. Miami is a huge one. But all three of those four teams based in those cities were small markets. But that don't even remind me about the Heat Spurs. That was such an iconic series, one that can never be forgotten.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I'm glad of the NBA Finals we had, but there's no NBA Finals that could beat the Cavs Warriors from 2016.
That was just man.
That was just dude. That was just. It feels like that's just NBA Finals right there. That was an NBA Finals that we'll never see again. I mean, can we honestly see a better matchup and a better ending?
I honestly don't think that nothing will honestly touch what happened in 2016. Honestly,
I mean, everyone was counting out the cat, including me. I was done after I think it was Game 4. I was like, you know what? Why even watch Game 5? This is just pathetic. And then Game 5 comes, Cavs wins. I'm thinking, okay, well, that's cool. Maybe they'll actually win Game 6 and force Game 7. Well, boy, howdy! Not only did they win Game 6, they destroyed Golden State in Game 6. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, this team could actually pull out the unexpected, beat the Warriors. Right. I mean, the biggest question back in those days was how can you take down the War? How can you win 4 games against them in a single series, and not just before Kevin Durant, also during the Kevin Durant years, and even after them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but after that Game 6, you were thinking, man, LeBron, ain't no way he's going to climb back from a 3-1 deficit to tie the series at 3 just to lose in Game 7. That's just not LeBron's mentality. Says a lot about his love for the basketball as well. Same way for Alex Smith. Those two different scenarios, but that series just really taught us that it's never over until it's over, and LeBron is definitely a once in a lifetime player that once he calls it a career and hangs up his cleats, we may never see again.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of hate that I really wasn't paying attention to basketball when, during his first Cleveland years.
I wasn't either. I was too young to watch.
Yeah, I wasn't really just like paying attention, but when he got to Miami, that's when I started, like watching basketball a lot more. So, I kind of got to, appreciate what, he was doing and, just witness greatness, honestly.
Yeah, you could pretty much make the argument that LeBron's 2007 year with the Cavs on a team filled with a bunch of nobodies, and there he is. And then the 2017-18 Cavaliers, there's LeBron. Though they had a little bit more talent with JR, I don't think they had Kyrie Irving that year. I think that was the year he left for Boston. I think that's correct. Yeah, so Irving was gone. And then you had LeBron, J.R. Smith, who really wasn't great. And then you had the rest of them. Yeah, I think you had Larry Nance Jr. So LeBron was carrying the team just like he did in 2007. And that's something that we haven't really seen before. We didn't see it from Kobe Bryant. We didn't see it from Michael Jordan. We haven't seen it so far from Steph Curry, except maybe in last year's NBA Finals. Remember getting injured. But the thing is with Steph, he kind of had to carry the Warriors for one game. He scored over 50 points and they still lost. LeBron did it in 2 NBA Finals. In 2007, he had to carry the Cavs in all 4 games in which they were swept. And he had to do it again in 2018 against the Warriors when I was like, That's the first time I've ever sneezed on a podcast. But excuse me. But he did it twice again in 2018. I mean, he had to score 50 points just to force overtime against the Warriors. Here we go again. So, thank you. So, LeBron doesn't get enough credit. He's 3-6 in the finals. I mean, he has 3 titles, but he doesn't get enough credit because 2 of those losses, which is a third, were against teams where he had to do all the work. He had all the stones on his back. He had mountains on his back.
Yeah, I think the only other person who like legitimately had to carry a team to the finals was Allen Iverson in 2001.
Oh yeah.
No one, I can honestly say that. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. What LeBron did in 2007 was crazy.
Insane.
What Allen Iverson did in 2001 was beyond
historic.
Yes. The fact that he even got to the finals, like people forget that him and Vince Carter had to face each other in the second round. I think it was the second round. I forgot. But yeah. And it looked like Vince Carter was gonna take the 76ers out of the playoffs. But Allen Iverson did Allen Iverson things, and he willed them to victory. And that was a team with in backside of his prime on Dikembe Mutombo and Eric Snow and some more guys. I don't even know their names honestly, but yeah. So to get to the finals and face Shaq and Kobe, you can't just really knock him because I mean it's Shaq and Kobe, but yeah, that what he did in that 2001 season was just greatly historic. He deserved MVP that year for sure.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest players to never win an NBA Finals. I mean, not just that performance, but who can ever forget the infamous? We talk about practice, man. Not a game. We talk about practice, man. We talking about practice.
You're right.
I wondered so many years ago who said that, and then I realized it was Allen Iverson. And but that's probably one of the greatest. That should have been my senior quote, honestly.
Between and I forgot who was that head coach that was like playoffs. We talking about playoffs.
Oh, what's his name? Let's see if I can Google it. I love that quote too. Actually, I can do a impersonation of it. Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Who said that? I know his face. Who said that? Let me see. No, I don't want ESPN.com. I want Google.com. But I love that quote so much. And if it wasn't for how long it is, I would have put that as my senior quote. Playoffs. I've even seen like at college game. You see those posters where it say, you know, so in the playoffs. You kidding me? Oh, coach. Who was it? Jim Mora. That's who it was.
Jim Mora.
Let's see if I can play that on YouTube. We can let our viewers and our hearers say that. No, that was not Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards was the one that went, "You play to win the game." Now that was iconic too. Here we go. All right, here we go. Here it is. Jim Mora, playoffs quote.
Well, I'll start off by saying this. Do not blame that game on the defense, okay? I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field positions. Skip ahead. Right? And we 5 times. Bad.
Here we go.
Unbelievable. 5 turnovers. One of them, we threw in 4 interceptions for touchdowns this year. That might be an NFL record. That's pitiful. I mean, it's absolutely pitiful to perform like that. Pitiful.
There we go.
What's that? Playoffs, talk about? Playoffs? You kidding? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
I love that quote. Playoffs.
That's my favorite quote right there.
Matter of fact, every time I talk about the Marlins and the Orioles being in the playoffs, I'm just going to say the Baltimore Orioles and the Marlins in the playoffs. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's probably the face of every losing team, like probably the Bengals. You know, now that you have Joe Burrow, are you guys going to be in the playoffs? 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 Are you kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we win a game. That's got to be the response of Zach Taylor every time. But the infamous Jim Mora on his playoffs quote after a brutal loss to the San Francisco 49ers many years ago. And there's many more quotes by these coaches. I know this is probably not one that's too popular, but who can ever forget the one with Steve Spurrier in the AAF of 2019 when he was calling a play and told his quarterback to because his wide receiver had dropped a pass earlier, and he said, I think he said, pass it to him and tell him to catch it this time. One of those greatest throws by Steve Spurrier. So, yeah, great coach. Was a Florida Gator. I have to admit, hard to like him when he was a Florida Gator. I'm a null. Can't stand Florida Gators. But unless you're Tim Tebow, man, you can't hate Tim Tebow regardless of where he came from. Oh, such a great legend, man. Tim Tebow deserved better in his career. He was let off by the Broncos, and then the Jets, and then the Patriots.
Yeah.
And, now he's there's no minor league. Now he is under the list of a dysfunctional franchise like the Mets, and they could really use him. Like honestly, they could. Even in the bullpen, he's not even a pitcher, and they could still use him.
Yeah.
The Mets are at the point where if anybody can just pitch, regardless of what position you play, okay, come play for us. Like they need bullpen badly. I think it's like 3-4 blown saves this year, and I think two of those were against the Braves. And game 2, they were one strike away from winning. Ozuna hit a home run, and then the Braves won it in the 10th. And who can forget the other night when they were 6 runs, 8-2 at one point, and then 10-6 in the 8th inning. Braves scored 5 unanswered to take down the Mets 11-10. Best team with bullpen issues. Anybody who can pitch good, and hopefully Tebow could be gifted with some pitching skills, and he could actually do some success with them. But speaking of the Mets, they beat the Nationals tonight 3-1 after losing last night's game to the Nationals. So hey, good for the Mets.
Golf claps. You got to give them golf claps.
Golf claps. You know, there's nothing worse. I know this may be off topic, but we're on the subject of golf claps. There's nothing worse when a teacher says, you guys are only doing this to your friends and only this to anybody else. You should just be doing this to everybody. If you get what I'm saying, clapping for the people you like. There's nothing more annoying than that. It's like you want me to do this to a complete stranger I don't even know.
Right. Yeah.
Like. Or do this to my best friend when he worked his butt off for a reward. Like, come on, teachers. But those same teachers are the one that says, the bell does not dismiss you, I dismiss you.
Yeah, I hate that. I used to hate it.
I hated those teachers.
I only had one teacher that actually did that, and it got on my nerves badly.
In all my years of being at high school, I never heard that. I heard that once in middle school, and it was my 7th grade math teacher. She was like, guys, the bell does not dismiss you, I dismiss you. And I think that was the only time she said that. And that was probably the last time I heard it. I may have heard it, time and time again, but mainly the teachers I had in high school, they pretty much said, hold up, nope, wait.
Yeah.
They didn't throw the bell does not dismiss you, I dismiss you, because that just adds more time to what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, really.
So if you went to high school or you're going to high school, be ready to hear that phrase a lot, depending on where you go. But just know there's a reason for a bell. The bell does dismiss you. It does. Because if it doesn't dismiss you, what's the point of the bell?
Right.
Because if it wasn't for bells, teacher would keep you in your class over time, and they would never even realize that there's students at the door waiting to come into their next class. They'd be like, oh my goodness, it's time to take classes. Go to your next class. You're dismissed.
Yeah.
Oh, good time. But I'm glad those days are over. Now in college, if the professor's done, he's like, okay, go home. Well, that'll about do it for this edition of Tuffy Tribe Podcast. A couple announcements we want to make. Check out our Facebook page. We got some exciting announcements to make on that. We will now have a Facebook podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays with hosts Eli, Zaire, and Christian, who all have Facebook pages, but they will be using the Tuffy Tribe Facebook page. Go subscribe to that, or go befriend that. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're adding up numbers too, up to 14 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Share our YouTube page or any version of our social media pages with any of your friends, family, or anybody that you know as an avid sports fan, because we want to talk about sports and discuss them and debate them in front of your friends, your family, or anybody that you know that's an avid sports fans. Continue to count down our days until our website drops. We will have a website dropping here within a month or two. And also on that website, we will have our merchandise, baby. So when the merchandise does drop, be sure to buy you some Tuffy Tribe Sports Network gear. Trust me, you want to support us and you want to look snazzy in those Tuffy Tribe shirts. We'll definitely have more stuff as time goes on. We're new to the podcasting business, but by this time next year, we'll be rolling around. And hopefully we can expand our horizons. But we cannot do that without y'all's support. So please do anything. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, buy our merchandise that will be dropping here in a month and a half. You guys are the best. We can't be here without you guys.
For the tribe.
For the tribe. So y'all continue to check that out. Go show some love to our new host, Christian. Hit up his Instagram at SteelBill84. Tell him how great of a job he did on Monday, because he nailed it on Monday. And we're thankful that he is on this podcast and on this team now. We're excited to see what great things he's going to accomplish while here. Hopefully he stays with us for a while. And I think he will. He's a good kid. So go show your love to Christian. Don't forget to check us out or tune in on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The next time we will see you guys is on Friday at 7 o'clock Central Time. Be ready, because we got more ground to run. Stanley Cup qualifiers should be wrapping up by then. NBA gets a step closer to the playoffs, and more Major League Baseball will be soon by then. So, with all that being said, I am Nick Bass along with the GOAT, Zaire Davis. We will see you guys next time on Tuffy Tribe. God bless. For the tribe.
For the tribe.